My date insisted I pay for an expensive dinner, sneering, "Women want equality until the bill arrives." I quietly paid and walked away. Minutes later, he called me panicked. His card had been declined, and the restaurant was threatening to call security. I smirked and texted back, "Guess you finally got that equality you wanted." A 32 female had been on dating apps for a while after moving to Chicago from a smaller town in Michigan. Not a newbie, not desperate either, just giving it a try again after a long break from dating. My work keeps me busy, I own my own business, and I'm pretty self-sufficient. So when I matched with this guy named Ethan, 34 male, he seemed decent. Clean haircut, good job according to his profile. He worked in finance, and he wasn't throwing around weird pickup lines or emojis in every sentence, which already placed him above 75% of my matches. We chatted for about 10 days. He was confident, maybe a little too much, but I brushed it off. He was funny, clever, and had this energy that made conversations interesting. After a few phone calls, he suggested dinner. I was open to it and asked him what kind of place he had in mind. He sends me the link to this fancy steakhouse downtown. I click it, and the first thing I notice is the price range. It's one of those dollar listings. I respond with a "Wow, fancy choice," and he replies, "Only the best for us modern people, right?" Whatever. I figured maybe he just likes going big on first dates. I wasn't going to assume anything. Maybe he genuinely just wanted a nice night out. So the night comes. I get to the restaurant, and it's one of those sleek, dimly lit places where you feel underdressed even if you've spent an hour getting ready. I wore a classy black dress and flats because I knew I'd have to walk a bit. He was already there when I arrived, dressed in a sharp blazer, sipping red wine and scrolling through his phone. He stood up, smiled, hugged me. All the polite stuff. We get seated. The waiter comes over, and before I can even open the menu, Ethan's already ordering a bottle of red wine I can't pronounce. "You're going to love this one," he says. The bottle was over $120. I didn't say anything, but I definitely noted it. Dinner begins. We're talking, and he's very into talking about himself. Like, very into it. I ask questions, he gives long answers. I talk about my work, he nods, but then pivots back to a story about how his job is cutthroat and not for the weak. Cool. He orders the most expensive steak on the menu, and not just for himself, he insists I try one too. I was fine with the mid-range options, but he waves the waiter off and says, "No, trust me, go big." So we both get these $85 steaks, a couple of sides, plus dessert that he wants and swears we'll split. I didn't ask for it. By the end of the meal, we're sitting on a $300 plus tab. The bill arrives. It sits there for a second. He doesn't move. Then he slides it across the table to me, leans back, and says with a smirk, "So, since we're all about equality these days, I guess you've got this one, right?" I blinked. I thought he was joking at first. But no. He just sat there, sipping his wine, looking at me like he'd just made some grand point. I said, "Excuse me." He chuckled. "Come on. You're a strong, independent woman. Equality means splitting the check, or, hey, sometimes the woman pays. Isn't that the modern way?" I can't explain what switched in my brain at that moment. I was irritated, not because he wanted to split. It's 2025. I'm fine with splitting or even treating once in a while, but because of the smug, patronizing way he said it. Like he'd set this whole thing up just to make a point. I didn't want to argue. I just nodded, pulled out my card, and paid. Left a 20% tip. Said, "I'm gonna use the restroom before heading out." Except I didn't go to the restroom. I walked straight out. Not dramatic. No running. No flipping him off. Just smooth and silent. The air outside felt cooler than it was. About 10 minutes later, my phone buzzes. A call from Ethan. I ignore it. Then a text pops up. "Can you come back? My card's not working and they're saying they're gonna call security if I can't pay for the wine." I stared at it. Read it again. Then I typed back, Guess you finally got that equality you wanted. And blocked him. Turns out Mr. Finance had maxed out his card, or maybe he didn't have enough to begin with. I don't know. I never found out what happened after, and I don't really care. But it made me realize something. Some people use the idea of equality not because they actually believe in fairness, but because they want to twist it into a power move. He didn't want to split things. He wanted to feel superior for making me uncomfortable. Anyway, I posted this for all the folks who have dealt with fake woke dudes using equality as a weapon. I covered the bill, walked out with my dignity, and he got stuck in the mess he created. A week passes. Honestly, I had moved on. Ethan's face, his smirk, the whole equality stunt, just another dumb moment I added to my mental scrapbook of bad dates. I kept busy with work. My business was going through a big client onboarding phase, and I was working 10 to 12 hours a day. Zero time to think about random men with fragile egos. Then, on a Wednesday, I get a call from an unknown number. I ignore it, assuming it's spam. But then it rings again. Same number. Voicemail pops up. Out of curiosity, I check it. It's a woman. Her voice is shaking a little. Hi, this is going to sound weird. My name is Haley. I think we might have gone out with the same guy. Ethan. If this is the wrong number, I'm sorry. But if you're who I think you are, please call me back. It's important. My stomach sank. I had no idea how she found my number. I never gave it to anyone who knew Ethan. But the name stuck. Haley. I remembered Ethan mentioned casually he'd dated a lot of flaky women, and one of them had a thing for stalking. I don't know why I called her back, but I did. Haley sounded relieved. Thank God. Okay, this is going to sound insane, but I'm just gonna say it, Ethan's not who he says he is. That line hit weird. She told me that she had been seeing Ethan off and on for almost a year. He claimed to be in finance, yes. But she'd never seen his apartment, and every time they made plans, it was at restaurants or hotels, never his place. Said he was remodeling it. He always had excuses. She'd only just caught on because she finally Googled his number after he blew off her birthday dinner. Turns out, there were posts. Not just one, multiple. Other women. Similar stories. Fancy dinners, expensive wine, big ego speeches, and then sticking them with the bill. Or even worse, telling them he'd left his wallet or had a sudden charge freeze on his card. Some paid, others left. But the pattern was clear. Haley sent me screenshots. Same guy. Same blazer. Same damn smirk. I don't know what snapped in me, but I felt something burn low in my stomach. Anger, yes. But also disgust. This man wasn't just a jerk. He was using some weird psychological game, weaponizing feminism, acting like he was making a statement, when really he was just mooching off women who were too polite or too shocked to say no. I texted Haley later that night, we should do something. She agreed. So I did some digging. Found a Reddit thread where someone mentioned a guy in Chicago pulling the same equality bill stunt. Then another thread on a local women's Facebook group. His name wasn't always the same. Sometimes Ethan, sometimes Evan, once even Derek. But the photos matched. Same face, same designer-looking watch, same smug expression. Haley and I created a group chat with 4 other women. One of them, Nora, told us he had once taken her to a steakhouse too, then claimed his account got hacked right after dessert. She paid. Never heard from him again. Then it got worse. One of the women, Tessa, said she let him borrow money. Just $150, but he claimed he left his phone in an Uber and needed to buy a replacement fast because of urgent work calls. She gave him cash. He ghosted. This wasn't just petty behavior. It was a pattern. Maybe even a scam. I took a few days and quietly reached out to one of my old college friends who worked part-time at a private investigation firm. She wasn't licensed herself, but she had access to tools. I didn't ask for much, just a legal name. She found it. Ethan's real name wasn't Ethan. He had a record. Not major, nothing that would have popped up in a background check, but enough. A few civil disputes, one small claims court file, and one flagged incident from a couple years ago that involved someone accusing him of financial fraud in a personal relationship. Settled privately. I messaged the group chat, "Let's meet in person." We did. 5 of us at a cafe downtown. It was surreal, sitting across from these women, some younger, some older, all of us played by the same man. We laughed, we cursed, we vented. But then it got quiet. I said, "So what do we do?" Tessa looked up. "He's going to keep doing it." That was the moment we decided we'd stop him. Not in some movie like Sting Operation, but in a way that mattered. We'd collect screenshots. We'd get testimonies. We'd track all the aliases he used on dating apps. We'd build a case. And we did. Over the next few weeks, we made a shared doc. Names, photos, receipts, restaurant bills, text threads, voice memos. Each time we found a new match on a dating app, we'd swipe, match, chat, and bait. Gently. Ethically. Just enough to confirm it was him and get screenshots. Haley matched with him again, under his new name Chase. Same lines. Same confidence. Same steakhouse. She pretended to agree. They made a reservation. That's where things started getting complicated. So Haley sets the reservation. Same steakhouse. Friday night, 7 p.m. She tells him she's so excited to finally meet someone who understands the balance of modern dating. He eats it up, sends her a winking emoji, and says he'll be wearing navy. Meanwhile, we're planning. Haley's not going alone. We're sitting at a different table. Me, Tessa, and Nora. Tessa booked under a different name. The hostess didn't question it. We dressed nice, ordered appetizers, and played it cool. Haley texts when she sees him walk in. Same blazer. Different watch this time, gold instead of silver. He looks around, all smooth confidence. Doesn't see us. They sit. We can't hear their convo, but Haley's texting us updates under the table. He's running his usual lines. Bragging about his job. Tossing the wine menu toward the waiter like he owns the place. The waiter brings the wine. Haley sips. Sends us a photo. Same bottle Ethan tried to order with me. Then it happens. Another woman walks into the restaurant. Late 30s, sharp heels, blazer. She scans the room and walks straight to Ethan's table. We all go stiff. Haley's still smiling like nothing's wrong, but I see her shoulders lock up. The woman leans over and says something low to Ethan. His face freezes. Then he looks over right at us. His eyes widen. I whisper to Tessa, "What the hell?" The woman points at Haley, then at us, then back at Ethan. A manager walks over. Ethan's talking now, fast. Hands moving. The woman pulls out her phone and shows something to the manager. Ethan reaches for it. She pulls it back. I can't hear what's going on, but the manager nods, then gestures toward the door. Ethan stands up, angry. He says something sharp to the woman. Then to Haley. Haley doesn't move. She just takes a calm sip of wine and looks past him. The manager calls over another staff member. They escort Ethan out. We're stunned. Haley joins us a few minutes later, looking like she just stepped off a runway. Calm, not even shaken. We ask what happened. That woman, she says. Her name's Natalie. She saw our posts. She's his ex. The real ex. They were engaged 2 years ago. Apparently, Ethan ran out on Natalie, too. Disappeared with her savings, thousands. Claimed he was starting a business. She never saw the money again. She had spent over a year tracking him. Hired a lawyer, tried going through the courts, but because she gave him the money willingly, they said it was a civil matter. She never got a resolution. Until she saw our thread. She followed it. Traced the stories. Recognized his photo. She'd been waiting for a time he'd mess up again. When she saw Haley post about the steakhouse, she knew he'd show. We sat in silence, piecing it all together. Ethan wasn't just a creep with a bruised ego. He was a serial manipulator. Possibly worse. Natalie joined us at the table. Showed us her file. Dozens of women. She had real documentation. Bank transfers. Emails. Phone calls. Even fake invoices he'd sent her to make it look like he was investing in stocks and business plans. She tried to warn others, but no one listened. Until now. I asked her why she didn't press charges. She looked tired. Because I was ashamed. And because when a man takes advantage of you emotionally and financially, people think you were just dumb. They don't care about the rest. We sat there, 5 women and one thick folder of lies. It was more than revenge now. This was damage control. Natalie had one more twist. She knew where he lived. Not just the place he told us about, but the apartment he was really staying in, one leased under a friend's name. She followed him there a few times just to be sure. He didn't know. I took a deep breath. Said what we were all thinking. So what now? You want to know what happened next? It's not what you'd expect. And no, we didn't go vigilante. But we didn't let him slip through again either. It got louder, and it got public. So we made a plan. Not to hurt him, not physically. We weren't going to throw a rock through his window or trash his car. That would only give him the upper hand. He'd spin it, act like the victim, say crazy exes were stalking him. No, we were smarter than that. Natalie had every document. Every wire, every text, every promise. And together, we had 5 witnesses with consistent stories, screenshots, receipts, dates, even overlapping ones that proved he was seeing multiple women and using them to fund each other's dinners. Like a twisted dating Ponzi scheme. We emailed it all to a lawyer friend of mine who owed me a favor. He looked at it and said, "You might have something. Maybe fraud. Maybe wire fraud, depending on the bank stuff." But more than anything, he told us what would make people pay attention, going public. So we did. Haley had a decent following on TikTok. She made a video, classy, calm, straightforward. She told the story like a documentary. Blurred names. Hid details. Until the very end, when she showed the proof. The real name. The face. The pattern. Then Natalie posted her own story. Then me. Then Tessa. Within a day, the posts were blowing up. By day 3, it was on Twitter and Facebook. Comments poured in. Women tagging each other. Is this the guy who ghosted me after sushi? He did the exact same thing to my roommate. Some of them posted screenshots of their own. Someone found his LinkedIn. Sent it to his job. We didn't do it, random strangers did. By the end of the week, he was fired. His work said they didn't want distractions. Then someone found his court record. Public info. Shared that, too. The internet did what it always does. It kept digging. He tried to defend himself in an Instagram story. Said the posts were coordinated harassment. Claimed we were lying to punish a man for being honest. He posted a selfie with a Bible quote in the caption. Didn't matter. The story was everywhere. The restaurants started recognizing him. At least 2 of them confirmed they'd flagged his name for unpaid tabs. One of them shared the security footage from the night Haley set him up. Him being escorted out. His face red, hands waving, mouth open in a rant none of us could hear. A reporter reached out to us. Wanted to do a piece on financial abuse in modern dating. We gave our stories. The journalist was careful. Didn't mention names, but enough people knew. Then the final blow came, and it wasn't from any of us. It was his mom. Yeah, apparently. Someone tipped her off. She made a post on Facebook. Not long, just a few paragraphs. Said she hadn't spoken to her son in over a year. Said he'd borrowed money from her, too. Disappeared after. She wrote, "I raised him better than this. I'm sorry to the women he's hurt. You don't deserve that. None of you." The comments were a mess. People attacking her. People defending her. But the damage was done. He was exposed. And here's the part one didn't expect. I started getting DMs from other women, not just about Ethan, but thanking me. saying they'd been through similar things, not with him, but with other guys. That hearing our story made them feel less ashamed. That they finally had words for what happened to them. That's when I realized something. I made mistakes too. Not just dating him, but brushing off red flags. Laughing at the things that made me uncomfortable just to keep the peace. Letting someone embarrass me just to avoid a scene. I stayed quiet too long. I paid that first bill thinking it was the mature thing to do. But now? I'd still pay it again if it meant what happened after still happened. Ethan deleted all his social media. His dating profiles vanished. Maybe he'll resurface in another city, another name. Maybe not. I don't care. What I do know is that for the first time in a long time, I wasn't just one woman dealing with a jerk in silence. I was part of something bigger. A quiet group of strangers who decided enough was enough. We didn't throw punches. We told the truth. Loudly. And the world listened. So yeah, maybe I got played on that first night. But in the end, I was the one who walked away with the check and the last word.